Terran stepped out of the transport pod and looked up at the garden pavilion. The dome stretched high into the sky, its glass panels reflecting the soft sunlight of Viridia. Inside, greenery swirled in every direction, tall trees with golden leaves, bushes dotted with flowers of colors Terran had never seen before, and gentle streams sparkling like scattered stars. The air was warm and fragrant, carrying the scent of earth and flowers together. Terran adjusted his backpack and took a deep breath. This was his first time on the pavilion, and he could hardly believe it was real. He had studied plants all his life, but never had he imagined a place like this where Earth's lost nature had been preserved in perfect harmony. "Welcome," a calm voice called out. Terran turned to see a woman approaching. She wore a simple uniform with the pavilion insignia and held a small tablet in her hand. "You must be Terran," she said. "I am," he replied. "And you are?" "Myra. I take care of the pavilion and guide new researchers. I've heard a lot about your work." She smiled warmly. "It's incredible," Terran said. "I've read about the pavilion, but seeing it, it's beyond anything I imagined." Myra nodded. "It is beautiful, but it is more than that. Every plant here has a purpose. Every tree, every flower, they all carry knowledge and history. If you pay attention, you might even hear them whisper." Terran frowned. "Whisper?" Myra nodded. "Some call it whispers. Others call it communication. You will understand soon enough." They walked through the wide entrance together. Terran's eyes widened as he took in the full view. Birds with bright feathers flitted between the trees, singing songs that sounded almost like laughter. Streams wound through the garden, glowing faintly where the light touched them. The flowers seemed to sway toward him as if greeting him personally. Myra led him to a small cabin near the center of the pavilion. "This will be your room," she said. "You'll start your research tomorrow. But tonight, walk the garden if you like. Sometimes, the first lesson comes not from books, but from watching and listening." Terran thanked her and stepped back outside. The path wound gently through flowering bushes and tall grasses. Each plant seemed alive in its own way. He reached out to touch a leaf, and it shimmered under his fingers. He smiled, amazed. As he walked deeper, he heard a soft sound, almost like a sigh. He paused, listening carefully. The air seemed to move differently around a group of tall, bioluminescent trees. The light on their leaves shifted slowly, like it was breathing. "Terran," the voice was faint but clear. It sounded like someone calling his name. Terran froze. He looked around, but no one was there. The breeze rustled the leaves, and the glow from the trees brightened slightly. "Who's there?" he whispered. There was no answer, only the gentle sway of branches and a soft glow that seemed to pulse with life. Terran took a cautious step closer, heart beating faster. Something about the garden felt alive in a way he could feel in his chest. The plants were not just green and blooming, they seemed to notice him, even welcome him. He reached out to touch the bark of one tree, and it was warm under his hand. A shiver ran through him. The whispers had stopped, but he felt a presence, a quiet energy guiding him deeper into the garden. He knew instinctively that the pavilion held secrets, stories of Earth's past and perhaps warnings for the future. Terran walked back toward his cabin, thoughts racing. Myra had said he would understand soon, but he had already felt it. The garden pavilion was more than just a collection of plants. It was alive, aware, and full of memory. Somewhere in the leaves, the whispers waited patiently, promising knowledge to those who would listen. That night, Terran lay awake, the faint glow of the garden visible through his cabin window. The soft rustle of leaves outside sounded almost like a lullaby. He thought about the whispers, the glowing trees, and the promise of hidden stories. Tomorrow, he would begin his research, but tonight, he simply listened. The garden was speaking, and he knew that this was only the beginning of his journey. Terran closed his eyes, imagining the forest of lights and soft voices. A quiet excitement filled him. He was not just a visitor here. He was part of the pavilion now, and the garden would reveal its secrets in time. The next morning, Terran woke to the soft hum of the pavilion. Sunlight streamed through the glass dome, illuminating every leaf and flower in golden light. Birds chirped around him, their songs echoing like music across the garden. Terran felt a thrill of excitement. Today, he would begin exploring the pavilion and learning its secrets. Myra met him outside the cabin. "Good morning, Terran. Are you ready?" she asked. "I think so," he replied. "I want to see everything." Myra smiled. "Patience. The garden will show you what you need to see, but only if you watch carefully." They walked along a winding path toward a section of the pavilion Terran had not yet seen. The air grew cooler as they approached a cluster of tall, strange trees with bioluminescent leaves. The leaves glowed softly, shifting in color from green to blue to faint gold. Terran's eyes widened. He had never seen anything like it. "These are special plants," Myra explained. "They were engineered to store not just biological information, but memory. Each leaf holds tiny echoes of the past, preserved from Earth's long-lost forests." Terran bent closer, trying to see the patterns in the leaves. He felt a faint vibration, like a heartbeat, coming from the trees. Suddenly, a soft whisper reached his ears. "Terran," he froze. The voice was gentle, almost human. It came from the glowing leaves above him. His heart raced with excitement and fear. "Do you hear it?" he whispered to Myra. "Yes," she said quietly. "The whispers are real. They are memories of those who once lived among the plants, encoded through special biotechnology. Some people hear stories, some hear advice. The garden chooses how it speaks." Terran's curiosity grew. "Can I talk back to them?" Myra nodded. "In a way. Some researchers have found that if you focus and speak softly, the garden responds. But be careful. The plants are sensitive. They do not respond to force or haste." Terran took a deep breath and spoke softly to the trees. "Hello, can you tell me your story?" The leaves above him glowed brighter, and the whisper came again. This time, it was clearer, a voice speaking of rivers, forests, and skies long forgotten. The words painted pictures in Terran's mind, visions of Earth's natural world in all its beauty. He could see rivers winding through mountains, forests stretching endlessly, and animals running free. "It's incredible," Terran whispered, eyes wide. "It's like I am seeing Earth itself." Myra smiled. "The garden preserves more than plants. It preserves the memory of life, the wisdom of nature. You can learn from it, if you listen carefully." Terran spent hours walking among the glowing trees, listening and speaking softly. Each plant seemed to have a different voice, different memories, different lessons. Some spoke of patience, some of balance, and some of caution. It was as if the garden itself wanted to teach humanity how to live in harmony with nature. As he explored, Terran noticed a small hidden path, partly covered by bushes. Something about it felt different. He motioned to Myra. "What's down there?" Myra shook her head. Few people have been allowed to go that far. The garden guards its deeper secrets carefully. If it wants you to see something, it will guide you. Terran felt a pull toward the hidden path. He took a few cautious steps, and the leaves above him seemed to glow brighter, forming patterns that led the way. He realized the garden was guiding him, showing him the path it wanted him to take. At the end of the path, Terran found a small clearing surrounded by glowing flowers and twisting vines. In the center was a fountain, its water shimmering with soft light. He knelt beside it and dipped his hand into the cool water. The moment he touched it, he felt a rush of images in his mind: ancient forests, peaceful rivers, skies filled with birds. He understood then that the garden's memories were not just for looking at, they were for feeling, for understanding. Myra approached quietly. "You found the first hidden memory pool," she said. "Not everyone is ready to see it. The garden trusts you, Terran. It has chosen to share its story with you." Terran felt a deep sense of responsibility. The garden was alive, aware, and full of wisdom. It was more than a place to study plants, it was a teacher, a guardian of knowledge, and a reminder of humanity's connection to the natural world. As the day passed, Terran explored more sections of the pavilion. Every corner held a secret, every plant a story. And always, the whispers were there, guiding him, teaching him, reminding him that the garden pavilion was alive in ways no human could fully understand. By the time the twin suns began to set, Terran returned to his cabin, tired but exhilarated. He had seen glimpses of Earth's past, felt the heartbeat of the garden, and understood that his work here would be more than research, it would be a journey into the living memory of nature itself. That night, as he lay in bed, he could still hear the faint whispers through the cabin walls. They spoke of patience, of listening, and of secrets yet to be revealed. Terran closed his eyes, knowing that tomorrow, the garden would share even more with him. The next morning, Terran woke to the soft golden light streaming through the pavilion dome. He felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Yesterday had revealed so many secrets, yet he knew there was much more to discover. The whispers of the garden still lingered in his mind, gentle and patient, as if urging him to continue. Myra met him near the entrance of the bioluminescent tree section. "Good morning, Terran," she said. "Are you ready for your first test?" Terran looked at her, curious. "Test?" "Yes," Myra replied. "The garden is more than a collection of plants. It reacts to attention, to care, and to understanding. Today, you will try to communicate directly with the memories stored in the trees. The process is delicate. You must be patient and gentle." Terran nodded, determination shining in his eyes. He followed Myra into the glowing forest. The leaves shimmered softly, casting a gentle light on the path. Each tree seemed alive, breathing with a quiet rhythm, as if it had been waiting for him. "Begin by observing," Myra instructed. "Do not rush. Focus on one tree at a time. Speak softly, and listen carefully. The garden will respond if it trusts you." Terran knelt by a medium-sized tree with soft blue-green leaves. He placed his hand on the bark and whispered, "Hello. I want to understand your story. Can you show me?" The tree glowed brighter. A soft warmth spread through Terran's hand and into his chest. He closed his eyes, and suddenly, images filled his mind. He saw dense forests with rivers winding through them, animals drinking at clear waters, and skies filled with birds gliding in formation. He gasped softly. The garden was giving him a vision of Earth, but not just a simple image. It was alive, detailed, and moving. The whispers grew stronger, forming words he could almost understand: balance, patience, care, harmony. Terran opened his eyes, amazed. "It's incredible," he whispered. "It's like the tree is alive, not just in body, but in memory." Myra nodded. "It is alive. And it is teaching you. Not all humans can hear these whispers. The garden chooses who is ready." "You are ready, Terran." Encouraged, Terran moved to another tree. He spoke gently, asking questions about the garden, the plants, and the purpose of the pavilion. The leaves glowed in patterns, pulsing softly, and the whispers responded. Sometimes the answers were clear, sometimes they came as images or feelings rather than words. After hours of careful testing, Terran felt a connection forming. The garden was no longer just a collection of plants, it was a network, a living system that could communicate with those who listened. Each plant added a new layer of understanding, revealing how humans could live in balance with nature. Suddenly, Terran felt a warning, a sharp shift in the energy around him. The leaves of one tree flickered rapidly, almost like an alarm. A whisper reached him, urgent and quiet: "Do not disturb the heart." Terran froze. "The heart?" he asked Myra, who had quietly appeared beside him. "The heart is the central tree of the pavilion," she explained. "It stores the most important memories, the essence of the entire garden. It reacts strongly if anyone tries to interfere before they are ready. The garden is protective, and rightly so. Many who tried to control the heart failed, and the garden rejected them." Terran nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He would have to be careful. The garden was teaching him lessons not only of knowledge but also of responsibility. "Now," Myra said softly, "try again. But this time, focus on listening rather than speaking. Let the garden guide you." Terran sat cross-legged near a group of glowing trees, closing his eyes and breathing slowly. He felt the energy of the pavilion flowing around him, soft and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. The whispers returned, gentle and guiding. This time, he did not try to control them. He simply listened, allowing the garden to communicate. Images of Earth appeared again: rolling hills, quiet rivers, skies painted in shades of orange and pink. Terran felt a deep connection with every plant, every animal, and every element in the vision. He realized that the garden was not just a memory of the past, it was a teacher for the future. Humanity could learn from it, and perhaps, if they listened, they could restore harmony wherever they went. Hours passed without Terran noticing. When he finally opened his eyes, the glow of the trees seemed warmer, more welcoming. He felt a quiet joy and a sense of accomplishment. The garden had accepted him as a listener, a student, and perhaps, one day, a protector. Myra smiled at him. "You have done well, Terran. The first test is always the hardest. You have listened, learned, and respected the garden. That is what it asks of all who enter here." Terran looked around at the glowing trees, feeling a deep sense of responsibility. He understood that his work was not just research, it was a partnership with the living memory of Earth. The whispers were no longer distant sounds, they were teachers, friends, and guides. As the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the pavilion, Terran knew that this was only the beginning. Tomorrow, he would continue learning, exploring, and discovering more secrets hidden in the whispers of the garden. The morning sun filtered through the glass dome, casting soft golden light across the pavilion. Terran walked along the winding paths, still amazed by the beauty surrounding him. The trees swayed gently, and the bioluminescent plants glimmered faintly even in the daylight. Yesterday's tests had strengthened his connection with the garden, and he could feel the whispers more clearly now. As he approached a familiar cluster of glowing trees, he noticed someone standing near the edge of the path. The figure was tall, wearing a dark uniform with a symbol Terran did not recognize. He paused, sensing an unfamiliar energy in the air. "Who are you?" Terran asked, stepping cautiously forward. The man turned, his expression confident and sharp. "I am Draven," he said. "I've been sent to study the pavilion and its technology. I have permission to use the resources here." Terran frowned. Something about Draven felt different from Myra or any of the caretakers. There was a sense of urgency in his eyes, a hunger that made the air feel heavier. Myra appeared beside Terran, her brow furrowed. "Draven is not like us," she said quietly. "He seeks to control, not to listen. The garden senses that. We must be careful." Draven approached, scanning the glowing trees with interest. "I've read about these plants. The pavilion is remarkable. Think of what we could do with this knowledge: terraform new worlds, grow life anywhere." Terran's chest tightened. "The garden is not for exploitation. It is alive. It teaches. It preserves memories of Earth. You cannot just take it for your own purposes." Draven smiled faintly. "I am not here to harm. But I must study the full potential. Surely, you understand the value of progress." Myra shook her head. "Progress without care is destruction. The garden will not allow its balance to be broken." Terran felt the whispers around him grow stronger, urgent. The glowing leaves above him pulsed as if warning him. He could almost hear the faint words: "Protect, watch, do not let him disturb the heart." Draven's gaze fell on a cluster of glowing trees near the hidden path Terran had discovered. "These are interesting," he said, reaching toward the plants. "No!" Terran shouted, stepping forward. The whispers surged around him, swirling through the leaves, guiding him to act. He touched the nearest tree, and a wave of light spread through the branches. The tree seemed to respond to him, creating a natural barrier between Draven and the hidden path. Draven stepped back, surprise flickering across his face. This isn't normal," he muttered. Myra approached calmly. "The garden protects itself. It responds to those who listen and understand. It will not allow harm or greed to reach its core." Draven narrowed his eyes, glancing around the glowing forest. "We shall see about that," he said, but he moved cautiously, realizing the plants were not just passive life, they were aware and ready to act. Terran could feel the energy of the garden flowing through him, guiding his movements. He led Draven away from the hidden path, keeping him near the outer sections of the pavilion. The whispers continued, giving advice, showing the safest ways to redirect him without causing harm. Terran felt a strange sense of partnership with the plants, as if the garden itself was teaching him how to protect its secrets. As they moved, Terran noticed small changes. The glowing flowers bent slightly toward him, the streams shifted subtly, and the bioluminescent leaves formed patterns that indicated the safest path. The garden was alive, intelligent, and it trusted him. Finally, Draven paused near a cluster of ordinary-looking shrubs, frowning. "You are making this difficult," he said. "I will find a way to reach the heart eventually." Terran tightened his jaw. "If you try to force it, the garden will not forgive. I won't let you harm it." Draven smirked but backed away, realizing that the pavilion itself was working against him. The glowing trees pulsed softly as he retreated, their light fading only when he was far enough from the hidden path. Terran exhaled, his chest still racing. Myra placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You did well. The garden tested you today. It showed you how to protect its secrets without aggression. That is the lesson it gives to those who respect it. Terran looked around the glowing forest, feeling a new level of responsibility. The garden was alive, aware, and full of wisdom. He had learned that knowledge was not enough. Respect, patience, and care were equally important. As the twin suns set, painting the pavilion in shades of gold and pink, Terran returned to his cabin. He knew Draven would not give up easily, but he also knew the garden had chosen him to be its protector. The whispers continued softly in the distance, reminding him that the true challenge was not just discovery, but preservation. That night, as he lay in bed, Terran could hear the gentle hum of the pavilion through the walls. The whispers spoke of vigilance, of balance, and of secrets yet to be revealed. He closed his eyes, ready for whatever the garden would ask of him next. The morning air in the pavilion was cool and crisp, carrying the scent of flowers and fresh leaves. Terran walked along the winding paths, his mind filled with the lessons from the previous day. The whispers of the garden had grown stronger, guiding him towards something deeper, something he felt he was ready to discover. Myra, Terran said as she joined him, I feel like the garden is leading me somewhere. Can it guide me to the heart? Myra nodded. The heart is the center of the pavilion. It is the oldest and wisest of all the plants here. But it will not reveal itself easily. You must be ready to listen, to respect its presence, and to understand its message. Terran's excitement quickened his pace. He had glimpsed the power of the garden's whispers before, but the idea of reaching the heart filled him with awe. They entered a denser section of the pavilion, where the trees were taller, and the bioluminescent leaves glowed brighter than anywhere else. Streams of soft light ran across the ground, illuminating flowers and plants that seemed to respond to Terran's presence. As they walked, Terran noticed subtle signs. The branches of the trees bent gently toward him, glowing patterns appeared on the leaves, and the whispers grew clearer, almost like words carried on the wind. This way, be careful, listen. Finally, they reached a small clearing. In the center stood a massive tree, far taller and wider than any Terran had seen. Its trunk glowed with a soft golden light, and its leaves shimmered like liquid silver. The air around it vibrated with a quiet energy, and the whispers were no longer distant. They were all around him, speaking in gentle, guiding tones. The heart, Myra said softly. It is more than a tree. It is the memory of the entire pavilion, the keeper of Earth's history and wisdom. Terran approached slowly, awe filling his chest. He reached out and placed his hand on the warm bark. A wave of energy pulsed through him, and images flashed in his mind: ancient forests, oceans stretching endlessly, mountains rising into the clouds. Birds, animals, rivers, and skies filled every vision. It was as if the heart was showing him the story of Earth itself. The whispers formed words in his mind: balance, harmony, respect, preservation. Terran realized that these were not just instructions, they were lessons, the wisdom of a world long gone, preserved for humanity to learn from. Myra stood quietly beside him. The heart chooses to reveal itself only to those who are ready. It trusts you, Terran. It trusts that you will carry its wisdom forward. Terran closed his eyes, letting the energy flow through him. He could feel every leaf, every root, every stream in the pavilion as if they were part of his own body. The heart was alive in ways that went beyond plants and light. It was alive in memory, in knowledge, and in purpose. Suddenly, the whispers changed tone, becoming urgent. Beware, there are those who would harm, protect the garden. Terran opened his eyes, feeling a surge of determination. He understood that his role was not only to learn but also to defend the pavilion and its precious secrets. He turned to Myra. I see now. The garden is alive, but it depends on us to respect it. If we fail, all this knowledge, all this life, could be lost. Myra nodded. Yes. And that is why we must be vigilant. The heart is powerful, but it is vulnerable if someone tries to control it without understanding. That is the test the garden gives. It asks for respect, patience, and care. Terran spent hours at the heart, learning from it and listening to the whispers. He discovered that the memories of Earth were not static. They moved, evolved, and responded to those who approached with a pure heart. Each vision taught him about ecosystems, the balance between creatures and plants, and the careful harmony humans had once disrupted. By afternoon, Terran felt a deep connection to the pavilion. He no longer felt like a visitor. He was part of it, chosen by the garden to understand and protect its knowledge. The heart had shared lessons of patience, wisdom, and the responsibility of nurturing life. As the twin suns began to set, painting the dome in hues of gold and purple, Terran and Myra left the clearing. The heart's glow remained with him in spirit, a quiet reminder of the wisdom he had been entrusted to carry forward. Walking back along the path, Terran felt a mixture of awe and determination. The pavilion was alive, and he was now a guardian of its secrets. The whispers would continue to guide him, but he knew that one day, he would face challenges that required not just listening, but courage and protection. That night, as Terran lay in his cabin, he could still hear the soft pulse of the heart in the distance. It whispered not just memories of Earth, but also hope for the future. And Terran knew that he would dedicate himself fully to the garden, learning its secrets, protecting its wisdom, and ensuring that humanity could one day live in harmony with the life it preserved. The next morning, Terran awoke to a strange tension in the pavilion. The air was thick, and the usually soft whispers of the garden were more urgent, almost like warning signals. He stepped outside his cabin and immediately felt it a disturbance, a ripple through the bioluminescent trees. Something was wrong. Myra, he called, hurrying to meet her. She was already near the glowing paths, her eyes sharp and concerned. Terran, she said, Draven has returned. I feared this day would come. He is attempting to manipulate the plants for his own gain. Terran's heart raced. He had known that protecting the pavilion would not be easy, but he had not expected the challenge to arrive so soon. The whispers pulsed around him, guiding him toward the section of the garden that Draven had targeted. They arrived at a clearing where the glowing trees had begun to flicker erratically. The bioluminescent plants shivered as if in fear. Draven was there, holding a device that emitted a soft hum, directing energy toward the trees. The once harmonious patterns of light were now chaotic, flashing wildly. Draven! Terran shouted. Stop! The garden is alive. You cannot control it with machines. Draven looked up, smirking. Ah, Terran. I see the garden trusts you. That is precisely why I need to test it. We can unlock its full potential, and you can't stop progress. Terran glanced at Myra. We have to act fast, she said. The heart is connected to this section. If he damages these trees, the balance could collapse. Terran closed his eyes, letting the whispers guide him. He reached out to the nearest bioluminescent tree, feeling its energy flow into his hands. A wave of light spread through the branches, forming natural barriers between them and Draven. The plants bent and twisted, creating protective walls and covering the heart section from interference. Draven frowned, trying to override the barriers with his device. Sparks flew as the machine struggled against the natural energy of the trees. The garden pulsed and glowed brighter, the whispers filling Terran's mind with instructions. Focus, guide, protect. Terran followed the guidance, moving calmly yet decisively. He touched the roots of smaller trees, directing their energy to reinforce the barrier. The glowing flowers swayed to shield vulnerable plants, and streams of water changed course to block Draven's path. It was as if the garden itself had chosen Terran as its protector, lending him strength to fight against the intruder. Draven stepped back, frustration flashing across his face. Impossible. How can a garden resist me? It is alive, Terran replied firmly. It protects itself. And it has chosen me to protect it, too. The battle continued, with Terran moving through the forest, guided by the whispers. Myra worked beside him, using her knowledge of the plants to restore stability where the disturbance had begun. Together, they formed a seamless defense, a combination of human skill and natural intelligence. Finally, Draven's device sputtered and failed. Sparks danced in the air, and he realized he could not overcome the living energy of the pavilion. He stepped back, defeated, and retreated toward the outer paths of the dome. Terran watched him go, his chest heaving. The plant's glow returned to normal, and the bioluminescent leaves pulsed gently in rhythm with the garden's heartbeat. The whispers softened, expressing relief and gratitude. Myra placed a hand on Terran's shoulder. You did it. The garden trusts you even more now. It knows you understand its balance and care. Terran looked around at the restored pavilion. The lesson had been clear: knowledge and understanding were important, but respect and responsibility were even more vital. The garden had tested them both, showing how fragile life could be when tampered with, and how strong it could be when protected. We cannot let our guard down, Myra said quietly. Draven may return, but now we know the garden will respond. And we have learned how to work with it, not against it. Terran nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and triumph. He understood now that being a guardian was not just about listening to whispers or observing beauty. It was about action, courage, and protecting life at all costs. As the twin suns began to set, casting a warm golden glow across the pavilion, Terran walked through the glowing paths, feeling the soft pulse of the heart guiding him. The garden had survived its first real threat under his care, and he knew this was only the beginning. That night, as he lay in his cabin, Terran could still hear the whispers echoing through the pavilion. They spoke of vigilance, harmony, and lessons yet to be learned. He closed his eyes, determined to continue protecting the garden and the wisdom it held. The heart had shown him that knowledge was precious, but it was action and respect that ensured survival. The garden pavilion was alive, aware, and full of secrets. And now, Terran was ready to defend every leaf, every flower, and every whisper it contained. The morning sun rose gently over the pavilion, painting the glass dome in shades of gold and pink. Terran walked along the glowing paths, feeling the soft pulse of the bioluminescent trees beneath his hands. The garden was calm, peaceful, and alive with energy. After the challenge with Draven, a quiet sense of relief settled over him. But Terran knew the real work was just beginning. Protecting the pavilion was not a task with an ending, it was a lifelong responsibility. Myra met him near the heart. Her eyes sparkled with pride. Terran, she said softly, you have proven yourself. The garden has accepted you as its guardian. Now it is time to share its wisdom with others, carefully and responsibly. Terran approached the massive golden tree. Its leaves shimmered, reflecting his own wonder and determination. I understand now, he said. The garden is alive not only in plants and light, but in knowledge and memory. It trusts us to protect it, to learn from it, and to carry its lessons forward. Myra nodded. The pavilion is more than a sanctuary. It is a teacher. It will guide those who are willing to listen, and it will test those who are not. You have learned patience, courage, and responsibility. These are the qualities the garden seeks. Terran spent the morning walking through the pavilion, checking each section of the garden. He touched the glowing leaves, felt the streams, and listened closely to the whispers. Each plant seemed to recognize him now, pulsing softly as if greeting a friend. He could feel the network of life within the pavilion, the harmony that existed when humans and nature worked together. Later, Terran and Myra guided a small group of new caretakers into the garden. Terran explained the importance of listening, of respecting every plant, and of understanding the delicate balance that made the pavilion alive. The new caretakers watched in awe as the bioluminescent trees glowed softly in response to their presence, a silent acknowledgement of Terran's guidance. One young caretaker asked, "Can the garden really teach us?" Terran smiled. "Yes. But you must be patient. The whispers are not always words. Sometimes they are feelings, visions, or patterns in the light. You must pay attention, observe, and listen with your heart." As the day passed, Terran returned to the heart. He placed his hands on the massive trunk, closing his eyes and letting the energy flow through him. The whispers filled his mind with visions of earth, forests, oceans, rivers, mountains, and skies painted with light. He understood the garden's ultimate message: humanity could thrive if it learned to live in harmony with nature, to respect life, and to value knowledge over control. Suddenly, he felt a gentle surge of energy, a warm vibration that seemed to move through the entire pavilion. The heart pulsed in a steady rhythm, and the whispers spoke clearly in his mind: "You are the guardian. Share our wisdom. Protect what is sacred. Lead with care." Terran opened his eyes, filled with awe. He knew that the garden's trust was a gift, not a right. Its wisdom was not meant for domination, but for guidance, for growth, and for the hope of future generations. Myra approached quietly. "The pavilion is secure now," she said. "Draven will not return easily, and the garden has learned to protect itself even better. But the greatest challenge will always be teaching others to understand and respect what we have here." Terran nodded. "I am ready. I will teach, guide, and protect. The garden's whispers will not be ignored. Its lessons will live on." As the twin suns began to set, the pavilion glowed softly in the evening light. Terran walked through the paths, touching leaves, watching streams, and listening to the whispers. The garden spoke of patience, courage, and hope. He felt the presence of the heart in every plant, every flower, and every stream. That night, as Terran lay in his cabin, he thought about the journey he had taken from the moment he arrived, to his first encounter with the whispers, to the challenge of protecting the pavilion. He understood now that humanity's true strength was not in machines or technology alone, but in care, respect, and the ability to listen. The whispers filled the room softly, gentle and patient. They told stories of earth, of life, and of hope. Terran smiled, knowing he had become part of something greater than himself. The pavilion was alive, and he was its guardian, entrusted with a legacy of knowledge and wisdom that could guide humanity for generations to come. Outside, the glowing leaves shimmered under the starlit dome, and the soft hum of the garden echoed across the pavilion. Terran closed his eyes, letting the whispers carry him into dreams filled with forests, rivers, and skies he had never seen in reality but would help protect for the future. The garden pavilion had chosen its protector. And humanity, through Terran and those who would follow, had a chance to learn, grow, and thrive in harmony with life itself.